The shock heard across America. 9 justices, 9 people who rarely agree on anything, not even lunch, have just dropped a unanimous bombshell that's rewriting every single police manual in America. This isn't politics. This isn't another legal footnote in the news cycle. This is the decision that changes what police can and cannot do, and how you can legally defend yourself when those lines are crossed. And it all started with a 5-second encounter, a $47 ticket, and a tragedy that forced the Supreme Court to say, enough. If you drive a car, if you carry a firearm legally, if you believe your home should be your sanctuary, you need to hear this. Because what happened in this courtroom just changed how every police officer and every citizen will interact from this day forward. Section 1. The 5 seconds that shook the system. A quiet Thursday evening, Officer Martinez approaches a parked car. The driver, 23-year-old Marcus Thompson, clean record, no weapon, completely compliant. He's pulled over for something trivial. Unpaid parking tickets, total value $47. But then, in the span of just 5.2 seconds, everything unravels. Thompson tries to pull away. The officer leaps onto the moving hood, fires 2 rounds, and a life is lost. No warning, no negotiation, no chance. That single moment, less time than it takes to tie your shoes, exploded into years of legal battles, appeals, protests, and finally, a Supreme Court showdown. For years, courts used something called moment of threat analysis. It meant judges would only examine the split second before a gun fired, ignoring everything the officer did beforehand that led to that threat. It's like watching only the last frame of a movie and pretending you know the whole story. This twisted standard justified thousands of police shootings every year because officers could escalate situations, create chaos, and still be shielded from accountability. Marcus Thompson's family refused to accept that. 8 long years, every dollar they had, gone. But in the end, their pain exposed a flaw so deep, the highest court in the nation had no choice but to act. Section 2. The statistics they hoped you'd never see. Let's pull back the curtain. Last year, 1,096 people were shot and killed by police in America. And here's the detail that should terrify every citizen. 73% of those deaths began with minor infractions. Expired tags, broken headlights, unpaid fines. Small-scale stops that spiraled into horror. It's not violent criminals filling those numbers. It's ordinary people. Fathers, mothers, teenagers. Drivers pulled over for things that could have been fixed with a warning. Even worse, 89% of the officers involved had prior complaints of aggression or excessive force that were dismissed or ignored. These weren't isolated bad apples. This was a system that rewarded escalation. Departments using warrior-style training, teaching cops to see every encounter as a potential firefight, recorded 400% more use-of-force incidents than those focused on de-escalation. And when shootings happen, only 1.2% ever result in criminal charges. Even with camera footage, even with witnesses. Meanwhile, insurance companies, terrified of billion-dollar payouts, are quietly backing away. Departments in 47 states have lost insurance coverage because lawsuits are exploding. Taxpayers paid over $3.2 billion in police misconduct settlements last year alone. And here's the irony. Departments with the worst records, the ones costing cities millions, often receive more federal funding than clean ones. The system literally rewards bad behavior. Section 3. The loophole that died. For decades, one legal trick kept this system alive. Officers could create danger themselves, then use that same danger to justify deadly force. A cop screams orders, draws a weapon for no reason, stands in front of a moving car. And when the citizen panics, they fire, claiming they feared for their life. Courts used to accept that, every time. Civil rights lawyers documented nearly 3,000 cases in just 5 years where this tactic was used identically. It even had a name in training manuals, tactical positioning for officers' safety. Translated, put yourself in danger on purpose so your response can't be questioned. Some departments even tracked which officers did this most often and promoted them faster. Their memos used chilling language like proactive threat management. But that era is over. The Supreme Court's 9-0 ruling called this practice exactly what it is, a constitutional violation. The court made it crystal clear. Officers cannot manufacture threats and then claim legal immunity. From now on, judges must consider the full chain of events, not just the instant before the trigger is pulled. The moment of threat lens has been shattered. Section 4. The return of citizen rights. Now comes the most important part for lawful citizens and gun owners alike. The court explicitly ruled you do not lose your right to self-defense simply because the aggressor later claims to be law enforcement, especially if they created the danger. Think about how often that scenario plays out. No-knock raids at 3 a.m., wrong address, armed intruders shouting or not identifying themselves, homeowners defending their families, then getting charged for assaulting officers. Under the old law, courts only examined the final moment when the homeowner raised a firearm, not the fact that the police broke into the wrong house without warning. The new ruling changes that forever. It declares that the Fourth Amendment protects citizens even when chaos is caused by officers' reckless behavior. If the state creates the danger, the state is responsible. And in a stunning move, the court cited the right to resist unlawful arrest, a principle abandoned for over 40 years. For concealed carriers, this is monumental. Police can no longer claim that your lawful firearm automatically creates reasonable fear. This isn't just a victory for gun owners. It's a return to the idea that the Constitution doesn't pause just because someone flashes a badge. Section 5. Money, the hidden engine of reform. While lawyers argue over rights, another revolution is happening quietly. In the financial backrooms of insurance companies. Police liability insurance has skyrocketed 847% in the past 3 years. Departments are bleeding money. Some can't even afford coverage anymore. Insurance carriers now demand proof of de-escalation training, mandatory body cams, and strict accountability standards. Refuse, and you lose coverage. No insurance, no department. In Texas alone, 23 small police agencies have disbanded entirely because they couldn't meet the new financial standards. Cities are realizing it's cheaper to train cops right than to keep paying settlements. Average misconduct payout? $1.8 million per case. In some cities, it's over $10 million. Insurance investigators now audit every shooting like it's a car crash, analyzing footage, tactics, and officer conduct second by second. The goal? Find the officers creating manufactured danger and remove them before they cost another fortune. And with AI stepping in, insurers are now predicting which officers are statistically most likely to cause the next lawsuit and demanding their retraining or termination. Section 6. Technology exposes everything. Body cams, dash cams, and smartphones have turned every police encounter into a data mine. AI analysis can now measure how fast an officer reacted, the tone of their voice, their distance from a suspect, even their heart rate and aggression levels from audio stress patterns. Out of 10,000 analyzed encounters, researchers found officers standing directly in front of vehicles were 340% more likely to use deadly force. Those who barked orders or shouted within the first 10 seconds were 520% more likely to escalate to violence. Every camera, every microphone now doubles as a truth machine. Footage once used to protect officers is now being used against them. Federal investigators are using AI to scan thousands of hours of footage, spotting misconduct patterns invisible to the human eye. The result? Officers are suddenly aware that every word, every gesture, every pause could decide their career, or a courtroom verdict. Section 7. What it means for you. From this point forward, every single interaction with law enforcement operates under this new, broader legal reality. If you remain calm, compliant, respectful, that behavior now counts in your favor in court. Compliance can no longer be twisted into submission or suspicion. Your phone camera isn't just a witness anymore, it's a legal weapon of truth. Because courts must now review the entire encounter, not just the final seconds. If an officer escalates needlessly, they can be held liable. If you act lawfully and safely, that record protects you. In short, the smartest defense is knowledge. Every second matters. Every movement counts. Every word is evidence. And now, for the first time in decades, the law is finally on your side. Section 8. The wave that's already spreading. The ripple effects are everywhere. Civil rights attorneys are reopening thousands of old cases dismissed under the moment of threat rule. Federal prosecutors are reviewing past shootings. Departments are rewriting manuals overnight, quietly retraining officers behind closed doors. Insurance carriers are settling cases early rather than risk trial under this new legal lens. Cities are rushing to implement reforms. Not because they want to, but because they can't afford not to. And in some states, courts are applying the new ruling retroactively, granting new trials to people convicted under the old doctrine. The Department of Justice has launched fresh investigations into patterns of unconstitutional policing that were ignored for decades. This isn't a small ripple. It's a tidal wave of accountability. Not driven by protests, not pushed by Congress, but delivered by 9 unanimous votes from the Supreme Court. A nation rewritten. The Supreme Court's 9-0 decision doesn't just change procedure, it redefines the power balance between the government and the governed. For the first time in half a century, citizens have regained ground lost to institutional force. The old logic that officers fear trumps citizens' rights is gone. The new rule is simple. If the government creates danger, the government is responsible. So the question is, do you feel safer now, knowing the law is shifting toward transparency and accountability? Or do you worry this could make policing harder? Either way, one thing's certain. From now on, every stop, every word, every second is being recorded, reviewed, and judged. Because in 2025 America, knowing your rights isn't just power anymore, it's survival.